Been minding my skin, it's getting thicker, laying my feelings bare. I listen to Dionne Fisher. I'm seeing the bigger picture, to see and believing bigger, acknowledging gifts and all of my blessings. I'm seeing Christmas. When you see me, know I could have just been a product of my environment. Wishing but not desiring, wanting early retirement. Always had direction, so I would rather be Simon. Peers would undermine it, really they just admired it.
Hi, welcome back to another episode of At Your Big Age. I am, of course, your host, Dionne.
And I'm Kieron.
And today we are joined by the founder of Saving Souls.
Hello there.
How are you today?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Good journey up here. Good. Yeah, bit of a trek, but I'm all right.
So this is a very impromptu, very kind of random guest that we have on today, only because we were scheduled to record this evening. And I have a cousin who is here, and she mentioned on the way that she's got a friend who is very much a mental health advocate, you know, and I was like, oh my God, yeah, I'd love to have him on. And he actually came this evening. So do you know what?
Thank you.
That's kismet.
Honestly, it is.
Yeah, that's kismet. That's supposed to happen.
So before we kind of get into the discussion, tell us about your organisation, you know, and kind of what made you get into it.
So Saving Souls is a mental health organisation, but we use sport as the tool, as the vehicle to talk about mental health. But we're about the prevention of mental health and the improvement of well-being. Mm-hmm. So what we have is we've got a men's session where we play free football for men every other Friday. Okay. So it's providing a space for men to meet new men and have brotherhood and fellowship and stuff like that, but providing the space for free. And the reason behind that is because as men, we won't admit that we can't afford the fee. Mm. Yeah. So if I can take away that from you, all you got to do is just turn up.
You know
what I mean? Mm-hmm. So then on top of that as well, we've got a men's forum. So we meet the last Thursday of every month. Conversate. I love that. Have conversations, we talk, we just catch up and just kind of create that safe space where it allows men to feel like they can be vulnerable and know that they're not going to be judged for it. Mm-hmm. But we've recently now launched on International Women's Day free self-defense classes for women.
Hey.
So yeah, it's a space for women to come and learn self-defense classes for free. And then the overall aim is to get to a space where we can do a women's forum. And then overall goal is to start having conversations between men and women. So then rather than it being what society says a woman should be this way or a man should be that way, why don't we start having these conversations together and start building a community? So yeah, that's where we're at the moment. Okay,
so so tell us about, you know, your journey. What kind of what inspired you to start this?
I think just the fact that I knew through lockdown I was struggling. Okay. Like lockdown, I was struggling a lot, like not being able to do what I want. And I've kind of got the rebellish behavior as well, like, and I'm not proud of it, well, to some degree. Like somebody says, like, do this, I'm like, nah, I feel like I want to do that. Do you know what I mean? So somebody telling me that I can't go to the gym or I can't go for a walk or I can't go for a drive, like it kind of got me to a place where I was like, nah, this ain't for me. But then it's having conversation with a few friends, and when I started having conversation with friends, they're like, I can see that they're struggling as well, but they're not trying to tell me that they're struggling. They're trying to hide that.
It,
do you know what I mean?
That's what men do.
That's exactly what we do. So I was like, you know, what can I do that I can potentially build something that it's not going to be a thing of where men have to feel like they're talking about mental health because they won't admit it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to use football as the space in order to get men to come and play. That's one of the main things. It doesn't matter what team you support or anything like that. Like, as soon as we're on the field and we want to play football, that's what it's really about. Mm-hmm. So I used that as the vehicle and just had a mental health football team. So getting people to understand that, like, I remember somebody that said, the mental health football team, you don't know a madman can play football. And I was like, yeah, this is what we're trying to get away from, that stereotype. Yeah. Like, it's not that. Yeah. Like, you don't have to be mad to have mental health, do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's why I used that. And then from there it grew. We won Grassroots Project of the Year as well.
Excellent.
Which is good. And then it got to a stage of where we started having a men's forum. Now that they've seen each other and started interacting, how can we get to a place now where they maybe start talking? So it might be, you know what, I see Kieron at football. You know? So now I see him at football. Like, although I didn't know him before, I don't mind talking to him saying, you know what, I'm struggling. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's what we wanted to create now. Create then. So we created that. And then I didn't realize my privilege as a man, in terms of I was ready to create the Saving Souls women's team, and I thought to myself that I had a conversation with somebody, and I was walking to the gym, and then she was like, "What, you going to the gym at this time of night?" I was like, "Oh, it's only 6 o'clock. It's winter time. Like, this is November." She's like, "No, I can't do that. Like, that's not." I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "No, it's not safe." So I was like, "Wow, like." I didn't realize that as a man, I can put in my headphones, get off the train, walk anywhere, go to my car and not care whatsoever. For women, that's a whole different story. So when I started to go then and look in the deeper context of things and start looking at 1 in 3 women will suffer sexual or physical assault. And then when you look at it from a deeper standpoint and say that a lot of that will be in the home when they get home. Like, so you think about 1 in 3, that's of what's reported.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then I started saying, nah, so whatever you had in your head, Kerry, of like having a women's team to make yourself feel better, no, that's not what women need. So in my head, I was like, okay, cool. Self-defense classes for women. And I've partnered with a woman named Jackie, who's amazing. And she runs the self-defense classes, and it's a safe space that women have. And like, if Jackie is the rock of that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She does what she does, and and the women can testify to say that, you know what, if it weren't for her, that like creating that safe space, it wouldn't be where it is now. So I just saw that there's gonna be a niche in I wouldn't say a niche, but no, it is a niche because nobody, horrible as it sounds, they don't care about us. Like there's so much funding and government stuff going on for the women, for the kids. What about us as adults?
Adults get
and I'm really happy that you brought up that point, because you know, even when I started Love Lay Bare, the purpose was it was something for the adults, because like you say, there's so many projects for the children, but at the end of the day, it's us as parents that are raising these children, and it's usually our issues that then get passed down to them. You know, and exactly. Yeah. So for me, this is why it was important to have a platform where adults can have conversations about their mental wellness, their mental health, things that, you know, they've experienced and gone through that people wouldn't necessarily attribute to being a mental health issue. You know, you can go through life situations, you know, losing children, you know, co-parenting issues. You know, we've covered a wide range of different things over the years. But just to show people that these are the scenarios that can have an adverse effect on your mental health.
100%.
You know? 100%. So it's very interesting that you're here, because I think there is a very there is a link obviously between, you know, fitness and
100%.
and your mental well-being. Now, you know, Kieron, you're a personal trainer, so you can obviously speak on that side of things.
and all the rest. Endorphins and that whole feel good feeling after a workout. Definite links. But I feel like sometimes people, you can use that as like a crutch. So you will just go to the gym and say, I'm just going to 7 days a week, twice a day, and go gym, and then for the rest of the time you still feel like afterwards. Do you get what I mean? So sometimes it helps, but you need to. Sometimes there has to be more.
Yeah, there needs to be a
like
balance.
You need to do more of the work.
Things.
That's very. It's not superficial, because it does help, but there's a lot more. Yeah,
it's for me. What I feel like the fitness side of things, and this is why I just didn't want to just keep it as football, is because once you've got rid of that, and once you've got rid of that burst of energy, are you actually talking about the main thing and the root cause of why you're feeling like that? All you've done is basically suppressed it for maybe the hour and a half that you're at the gym, or the hour and a half that you're at football. That's all you've done, is you suppressed it. Or what is the root cause? And I think if we look at it as well, what we was trying to do is that men talk less but are more active.
Yes.
Women talk more
and are less
active.
So it's about how do we get that to a point where we're gonna change that up. And I think it was so important with the women's side of things as well, because there is a lot around men's mental health, and I still think there's a lot of work to be done. But I also have the opinion that just because a woman talks more to her friends doesn't mean she's got over it.
Actually, no.
She's probably just learned to deal with it. So with her mentally, where is she at? You know what I mean? And it's about us being able to say that we need to support each other in order to make sure that we're all able to go through the traumas and get to a place where we are talking to each other.
No, I agree, and I think that the element of community that you're building, I think especially for the Black community, is quite important, because I think, you know, when people collectively see that something's happening, they're more likely
Get involved in it.
to get involved in
100%.
it, as opposed to, you know, a singular person, I guess maybe like myself, who is saying, look, you know,
You need to go and talk to somebody. You need
right.
to, yeah.
Do you see? You know, so it's like having these different approaches from different angles actually in the long term are going to be quite beneficial.
Yeah.
You know, I want to kind of just touch back on, because you mentioned that you were struggling in COVID. I think like it's interesting because, you know, I had a psychotherapist come on and we spoke about what the long-term effects of COVID, you know, could potentially be, and kind of what things were going through, people going through. This is like back in, I think, 2020. And, you know, within the kind of mental health industry, you know, there are predictions that we're not probably going to see the worst of the effects of
100%.
COVID.
Yeah, for a while.
For a while.
100%. That's the real long COVID.
Right.
That's the real long COVID.
You know? And I think for me, like, during COVID, personally, I had a wonderful time.
Because it was one or the other. It was either it was really good for you and you got a lot done, or it was, this is hell.
Yeah. So I guess I want to kind of, because there are going to be people watching who aren't like me, who didn't have a really good time, and, you know, because I was probably outside a lot. No, but, you know, I had a dog, I had a daughter, so that meant that I could do several walks a day.
Yeah, you were outside.
Yeah,
you were at block
definitely.
parties. Let's keep it real. You were at block parties.
I
Didn't follow no restrictions.
I didn't say that.
You didn't have to say it. You were at block parties. It's probably evidence online. Someone's probably seen a.
I didn't live anywhere near a block.
I'm sure you said something along the
semantics.
lines of she had a whale of a time or something like
Yeah,
that.
you had a whale of a time. It wasn't just walking your dog and hanging out with your daughter. Let's keep it 100.
Okay, do you remember the social media parties they had online?
Zooms.
Yeah, the Zooms were good.
Oh, wow.
They were good.
A whale of a time.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Good time.
I'm gonna find some footage. I'm sure.
There won't be any
On
footage.
your
There won't be any
Twitter.
footage from me. But okay, Kieran, for you, how was COVID for you? The lockdown period.
Do you know, honestly, it was all right. But I feel like because it wasn't as hard for me as it probably would have been had I not spent time away.
Okay.
Because it was like, you'd be like, oh, you can't, like, oh, Boris would be like, oh, you can't go outside. And then me and my mates or whoever, like, well, it's nothing. It's like being on the wing. The only difference is you're in your house. So I had space. So it was a bit, obviously my missus and my son were there homeschooling and whatever else. She was working from home and doing stuff. That side of it was awkward. But I don't think it affected my mental health as much as after. I feel like when we came out of COVID and everything started going wrong,
Right.
finances, whatever else,
Yeah.
and that side of it, the aftermath, I feel like was a bit harder. On my mental health. The during part, it was all right. Like I thought it was all right. Like I was, jump on a bike, you go for a ride, you go there. I was outside, I was doing stuff.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that bad for me. But I think the after, and even still, if we really check it now, there are probably still aspects of it in the aftermath that I'm probably,
that you're still
100%, because I'm not pre-COVID, my mental health was probably a lot better.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? But now it's a bit kind of sketchy, but we're, like you're saying, we're still dealing with stuff from little bits and pieces, and there's still harkbacks to, and there's, so yeah.
Was it, you know, for you, was there any one particular thing that that you would say you struggled with the most?
I think what didn't help was I was at a period where I started losing my faith as well. Like in terms of like, not even losing my faith, my relationship with God was a lot more it was a lot. There was a lot less reading of the Bible and stuff like that. And I think what happened is that I should never have allowed being in a church to be the reason why I'm reading my Bible. And when that was taken away from me, do you know what it felt like? You know those old school Nokias, yeah? Like they used to have the battery and you go clink, clink. What it used to happen is that Monday to Saturday, I'd be going through, and then when it gets to Saturday night, I'm on my last part where I'm like clink. But then before it goes clink, 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 I used to have church on the Sunday.
Recharge
to recharge you. And help me. So what I'd lacked there, me trying to even read, it just weren't processing. Just weren't going through. So I think that on top of that, and then when you have the enemy in your head telling you you're a failure, you're feeling like a failure, because there's certain things that I won't go into, but there's certain things where I was feeling like a failure in terms of certain situations, and it's messing with your mind, and like the people around you that you love and you care for kind of make you feel that way as well. It's like, wow, like this is really it. I'm at my lowest point.
My lowest point.
But it's like, so that is real. I don't know how you're not even making noise. Like this is amazing. You're a legend for this, because I'd be off. Like,
keep talking.
But for me, it's like what COVID done. It's like I didn't realize how important. Like, how do I put this? Footballers usually make it as a footballer because they love football. Mechanics usually go into mechanics because they love cars. I didn't go into mental health because I love mental health. It's probably something that I needed, something that I cared about, something that I wanted to help. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's where it got to a place of where it kind of pushed it into that direction, because I wanted to provide a space where, do you know what, if I've got to be vulnerable in order for everybody else to feel like, it's like you said, they want to feel like a community.
Yeah.
If I've got to be vulnerable for everybody else to be vulnerable,
Then cool.
Then cool.
Yeah.
And now we've got a support system where it's like, rather than me saying to you, go and talk to a therapist, go and talk to a counsellor.
Come play ball.
Come kick ball. Come to the men's forum. Come, we just sit down, we just talk.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's. But yeah, I think the lack of church side of things kind of that effed me up. That messed me up.
Did they? Because I know a lot of churches did like online services and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When that kind of kicked in, did that kind of get you going a bit more?
It helped to a little bit, because I was doing some of the presenting on there as well, right?
Okay.
But I think it was more about the fellowship and the embracing of people and seeing people.
And so again, the community side of it.
Yeah, it's just like I just really wanted to be out there, and although I was like losing a lot of my faith in terms of like my relationship with God and stuff like that, I just knew that being around people definitely would have helped that. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's the element that kind of messed me up.
You know, that's interesting, because I think that's a conversation I've not had regarding COVID about, you know, people maybe struggling with their faith because they're used to having that consistency of attending their place of worship. That's quite a daunting thing to kind of.
But see, these are the conversations that are going to be happening now for the next 5-10 years, because there's going to be loads of different avenues where people are saying, well, because of, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that, and everything's going to have a knock-on effect.
And I think even you being open enough to say that, there's going to be people watching this that are going to be like, oh, right, like that's probably what happened to me, but I just didn't.
I didn't see it. Now you've said it. Now I can go back and say,
I can now almost connect the dots in some kind of way, you know.
Can I? If I can't play ball, can I come?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I can't kick football to save my life.
Can you not?
No, who plays football? I don't like football. I've never liked football.
I know you don't watch football, but I just
kick ball. I used to go in goal.
You know what? The reason why we have the men's forum as well is not just because of the fact that we want the men that was playing football to kind of connect. It was opening it up to everyone. So knowing that there is a space and an audience. And you know what it is it's for you that don't kick ball, right? We want it to get to a stage where it's like, even though you don't kick ball, do you know what? I support saving souls for
Yeah, so I'll just come anyway.
because
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
come and support that. Do you know what I mean? We
yeah.
got shout out my brother AD. My brother AD, he comes to near enough every session, right? And he doesn't play.
He doesn't play ball.
Doesn't play ball.
Yeah, that's nice.
It'll come down to just support. My little brother started coming down more as well. So it's like you've built a community now where like people are just coming down
Yeah,
just to watch.
just
You get what I'm saying?
yeah.
Just to be part. Do you know
It's a
what I mean?
vibe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where are you not?
Catford, South East London. Yeah, it's a trek for you, bro.
Hey.
It's a trek.
What days?
Fridays. Every other Friday.
What time?
Evening, 7 till 8 p.m.
Man can work.
Yeah,
still.
man, come down, man.
You
It's,
can-
it's always a vibe.
Man can work
Always a
still.
vibe.
Come on, is there food?
Vibe. Pardon? Food. There's a couple corner shops down the road, so we can get like we a couple corner shops.
whatever
Point
you
in the right
want.
direction.
Is
That's
there
fine.
food?
Definitely, yeah.
Oh, man, come. That's yeah, man. That sounds like a vibe still.
But just before we got to, like, you know what? It's sad because there was a young man. I say a young man. I was like a young man, like a guy named Anthony. He passed away actually recently, and he came to the sessions. Came to one session to play football, and then it got to a point where he's like, "Oh, no, I don't think I'm good enough." I was like, "Don't think you're good enough? Come sit on the sidelines with me. Come chill." And he used to come to certain sessions, and people knew him for his smile.
Yeah.
Like, people knew him as just, this is Anthony. Do you know what I mean? And when he passed away, he was like, I was speaking to his mum, and she was like, we were so close because he was at a stage where he wasn't coming out, he wasn't meeting people, he wasn't on, but he would call me and speak to me and say, yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna come down, blah 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 blah. And the week that he passed, I sent him a message. It was the England versus USA game. I sent him a message, and I was like, yo, bro, I need to see you. The part that will drink up and food that we've got going on, I need to see you. Then his mum called me and told me that he passed. And it's like, when she said to me that, like, we got him to a place where he was coming out and he didn't have that before, it's those things here what makes you realise how important
these
this stuff
things
is.
are absolutely,
You know what I mean?
absolutely
It's needed. Yeah.
And it don't, and I must stress this, yeah. Whether or not I am the founder of this or anything like that, the community is built by all of us.
Yeah.
Because if I can basically get all the materials to build a house, and it will take me 10 years to build. But if I say to you, you know what, Dionne, here's some brick, here's some cement, I will take the foundations and everything like that. If we build this together, it could be a year. And then what will happen is that it will all protect this house together.
Yeah, because it's all of us.
Because it's ours. You
Yeah.
get what I'm saying? So when I hear the stuff about the founder, and I get that, but all I was is the person that's got to put things in place in order for us all to develop and all to go forward and venture forward.
So even if you're based out of the borough, you can attend.
Yeah. This just let's just create that. Like let's just create that space where you know it's there. So every other Thursday for the men's forum, if you want to come down, just come down, just chill, relax, we'll talk. Do you know what I mean? And then we'll get to the stage where we'll do the women's as well.
Okay.
He did 3 analogies there that were phenomenal. Just want to put that out there.
I'm an analogy man. My brethren will tell you that they hate it.
I just want to put that out there. So. Yeah, and if anyone's seen the previous episode, you'll know why I said that. But yeah, I just want to.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Love an analogy.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the previous episode.
Oh, no,
I'm
you will.
I'm assuming that the look on Dionne's face is saying that, you know what, get this guy away from me.
Men and McDonald's. Just remember that part. Men and McD's. McMen.
Anywho,
Man said McMahon. Yeah.
getting back to the discussion.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Go on.
apologies. Chuckle.
You touched on earlier about men and not realizing their privilege. You know, you were talking about going to the gym and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I'm probably different, I guess, maybe to the average woman, in a sense of I wouldn't even bat an eyelid to go to the gym at 6, 9, 11.
Yeah, but you're definitely in the minority.
Right.
Yeah,
Do you
100%.
understand what I'm saying? And I guess the conversation is obviously, I'm assuming neither of you two are perpetrators of, you know, but, you know, what is it? Because you know, there's going to be women watching this, and they're like, yeah, you know, this is exactly how I feel, and it's hard to have a conversation with men as to why their fellow men are persistently. This is not a fair conversation, is it?
Yeah, no, because men are just there are some men that are weird, and they don't understand that not every opportunity to talk to a woman you must talk to a woman.
Yeah.
So this is why there's women that don't feel like they can go to the gym at 6-10 o'clock because what's supposed to be a safe place for you isn't a safe space.
Yeah. But also as well, like the narrative needs to change. So the narrative shouldn't be, in my opinion, women don't go here, women don't do this.
Yeah, men behave.
Men stop doing
stop doing weird
That's
stuff.
what it should be, really. And it should be a thing of where it's like, you know what, if your brethren's doing that, check
Pull
your
them up.
brethren.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what it should
100%.
But that's not what happens though. This is the thing, and I think you know, I can only speak about the black community because that's where I'm from. But you know, you consistently see scenarios where, you know, girls, women will speak up.
Yeah.
But then they're met with,
Yeah, because nonsense people hang around in packs.
you're like, well, I don't know, are you sure that happened? Or, you know. So it's this conversation actually is, I think, is going to be a long one, and I think probably has to be done in maybe in a forum kind of context.
But this is why, just not to cut you, but this is why he's saying about merging the two
Together.
This is why it's necessary, because it needs to get to a point where
we can actually speak
without it being. As a woman, you're gonna say whatever you want to say in a room full of women and a room full of men, and the men aren't gonna try and minimize what you're saying because A, it's not that kind of setup, and B, in that kind of setting, there's more chance that one of the other men is gonna say, well, actually, no, you can't say that. Do you get it? So it'll almost get to a point where you're all not policing each other, but because it's now a safe place for everybody, and he's taken time to build it, and it's turned into this massive safe space for everyone. Then these kind of conversations can be had without it being an argument.
Yeah,
and it needs to be had.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. And it's not all men. Absolutely, it's not all men. But you know, the statistics speak for
numbers
themselves.
don't lie. And you can't say it's not all men if the majority of women feel like this.
Yeah. You know.
And Jackie does something in the self-defense classes, and she lets the women know that it's not about fighting the attacker, it's about fighting the objective. So, for example, if you've got somebody that's trying, like, and this is not me coming from a sexist standpoint or anything like that, like, men will be usually are physically stronger than women.
Yeah.
Right? So, if, for example, you've got a man trying to pull you or trying to drag you, you trying to go into a punching fight with this man is not going to work for you. So the best thing for you to do, if you know that he's trying to drag you, make it difficult for him to drag you. So don't go for the attacker, go for the objective. His objective is to pull you. So rather than that, you might want to crouch down and make it difficult for him.
Yeah, make yourself dead weight.
Yeah, so then that time, there's more chance of you being able to call for help or somebody seeing that. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's a thing of where, with regards to that, it's like us as men, what we've got to do as well is don't attack the attacker. It's the objective. What is it that is trying to be said here? Do you know what I mean? Instead of it being like get defensive, but it's not all men. No, it's not about attacking us. It's about the objective to stop this foolishness happening. That's what it's about. Let's not go down that route.
Yeah. I love that. Attack the objective.
Yeah. Shout out Jackie.
Yeah, shout out Jackie. I mean, so you're a boxing trainer. Do you have like any kind of like special? I know you said don't fight back, but in a situation where you might have to, are there like any special kind of punches that a woman could do in self-defense?
Special kind of punches?
Yeah, like I don't know, in particular, like I don't know, there or
No, not special. Not really a special kind of punch. I mean, as a rule, if you hit someone in their solar plexus hard enough, it will kind of stop any kind of nonsense. Right here, like a stiff right hand right there. But for the most part, I feel like if it's funny because I just started teaching my goddaughter how to box, not because of self-defense, just because she just wanted to channel a bit of teenage angst. But I feel like if more women, not that women don't know how to fight, but sometimes you just need to know how to react. Because if even someone coming up to you now, if I was to walk up to you now and you automatically put yourself in a stance, in my mind, I'm like, oh, she knows what she's doing. I'm now less inclined to try it. Do you get what I mean? Sometimes, and it's about the objective, like he's saying. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you don't even have to throw a punch.
Yeah.
Just because you look like you might hold a bag, you put your bag down and you go like this.
Yeah.
The minute you do that,
He's gonna
the average man is going to be like, this is long.
But then there might be another man that's like, oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, but even that extra second or two, somebody else, like he said, somebody else can see it.
Yeah. And you've put yourself in a position where somebody seeing that could think, "Wow, this ain't right."
Yeah, and then they come over and
then you might get the support there. Because even Jay, and I'm doing her a disservice here, but she even says like the world symbol for no is just like this. So if for example somebody comes into your personal space and you go like this, when somebody drives past and they see that,
they know what's going on.
Like,
This doesn't look right.
They know what's going on.
You get what I mean? So Kieron, spot on there.
Yeah, you just got to keep.
Do you know, it just reminded me of, I remember a situation, I was a lot younger, and I think I was about 14, and this guy tried to drag me into this park. Yeah. Yeah. And but luckily, you know, like you have those metal...
Railing things.
Right, they're quite short. You've got like one here and you've got like one there. So as he's trying to drag me into the park, I'm on one side. Now, I've never been a skinny girl. Like I've always had body, right? So it wasn't a very easy feat for him to try. But he was literally trying to pull me over this railing. And I managed to escape. And I literally kind of like rappelled it down the road until I couldn't run anymore. And there were some boys across the road, and I thought, okay, worst case scenario, if he's still coming after me, you know, they're kind of there, whatever. And then he caught up with me, and then, you know, back in the days, because we didn't have phones, you would write your number on the bus pass.
You came and gave you his number.
You're lying.
If I'm lying, God, strike me down.
That's mental health and wellness needed. Yeah. That's mental health.
But you know what? To be fair, there was something in his eyes that wasn't...
I'm not condoning it, by the way.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is mental health, to think that is acceptable to go and track someone, and then all of a sudden...
Plan B here.
Yeah.
Call me.
Plan B, you know?
Yeah, call me.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was very, 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 very odd. Very, very odd.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did you report that?
No. And I didn't. And do you know what? It's funny because I have like diaries when I was younger, and I revisited a diary when I saw that entry, but I felt like because I was coming from church, I'd met with a friend and we were all standing outside the park. This guy, I assumed, knew the other guy we were speaking to. My friend and this guy went to the shop, but they just never actually returned. So I'm standing there waiting for her to come back. It's getting dark. So you can imagine if I went home and said, this is what happened to me. What
Who's your friend? Why are you on your own?
Do you see? So I couldn't actually tell anybody anything. Because essentially I knew that I would have probably got in trouble because why were you outside the park anyway? And I'm like, well...
So this is
it goes back to what you were saying about being not women not being in places or not. You know what I mean? Like you should have felt like you could have said anything in that situation because it wasn't your fault.
Yeah.
But also, this is another topic for a whole new different conversation. But this is just my opinion on it. Is that how do we get to a stage where our children don't feel like they can't tell us what's actually happened because they're scared that they're going to get in trouble.
Get in trouble for it.
Like, how can this happen to you?
Yeah.
And that's not saying it was the case, but I can't do that because
I can't say here.
Madness.
Yeah.
Or, like, dad's going to do a madness, so I can't even tell them that. Like, I would rather, I haven't got kids, but I'd rather you come to me and say to me, do you know what, this happened to me. do you think I'm gonna care about that and that circumstance? No, I don't care about that. I'm more about,
you know, back then the parenting, you know, they did their best. I think, you know, with me, you know, my daughter's 6 years old. You know, from the age of 2, I taught her, you know, about boundaries. I taught her that she doesn't actually have to hug or embrace anybody if she doesn't want to. That applies to her uncles, aunties, grandparents, anybody. And, you know, I give her agency. I've taught her to have autonomy over her body. And I've also kind of said to her, you know, in these situations, you never ever feel like you cannot come and talk to me. And it's about creating a space for your child where they know that they're not going to be judged or they're going to be disciplined if they've been in a position where they've been harmed. And that is a lot of parenting that we didn't get when we grew up. Yeah. So for me, it was very important that, you know, particularly with having a girl, and this is another thing as well I want to say, sometimes we treat girls and boys differently in terms of how protective we are. I've had too many conversations with men before Love Laid Bare, during and even currently. Young boys are suffering the same fate as young girls. And it's so common that you wouldn't even believe. And sometimes, you know, you might see grown men acting out in a certain way and doing certain things, but it's because they've not had the opportunity to feel like they can talk about what happened to them. You know, as girls, we find it difficult enough, but sometimes eventually something might be said. A lot of people do take this to their grave, and you never, like I say, you never understand the mental health implications 100%. Behind that, you know. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that as safe as you are with your girls and the things that you teach your girls,
do the same with the boys.
Do the same thing with your boys. And I think also, you know, parents of boys need to have conversations with their boys and say, you can't do X, Y, Z. Yeah. You know, because if I feel like if enough of that conversation happened, surely we wouldn't have as many male perpetrators as we do. No?
Yeah, standard. Yeah, 100%.
You know?
I agree.
But this is but see now where you've got scope for branches and different, because there's so many different directions it can go in.
So the aim of it, and you saying the branches and the scope, is to get to a space where we can have like a big brother system. So then when we've got like the young men and stuff like that, because that's the next step to go down, because I want to start with the adults, try and help us with our trauma and what we did, so we don't go down generational.
Yeah.
And also break the whole thing of where there's so many times where it's like, oh, this is hereditary, so it's in my family, so it's gonna happen. No, let's break that lineage. Like, it doesn't need to be that, do you know what I mean? And especially with the boys, I went to watch that, and I'm not using this to condone what men are doing. I'm not using this. But what I will say is that I went to the play for black boys that considered suicide when the shoe gets heavy. There was a line in there that really got me, right? And it's and the man said, black boys will give out more love than they will ever receive. Now, when you listen to that, some people look at it from the surface level, but there's a whole lot of black men doing this. Take away from that. Take away from that. Just let's. I'm not condoning that, but let's take away from that just for one moment, right? And I'm going to talk about my first-hand experience. There has been times where I have seen an older woman or an elderly woman or somebody drop something, and I will go over to help them, and they will do this to me.
Oh yeah.
No. The love that I was willing to give out to you to show you the help and the support, you wouldn't even give that back to me.
Yeah.
And that's just me basically trying to give out that love. So when you're hearing that phrase there, don't take it as a thing of where it's not saying that like we're not doing foolishness, but man, I'm not doing foolishness. It's the fact that there are certain times where I know in my double consciousness that, you know what, I might walk across the road because I don't want this woman to think.
Because
I'm
I'm
at the cash point. Yeah,
I'm
And
gonna stand
like,
too
let
far.
me step
Yeah,
a bit back because I don't want her to think that she's trying to rob me.
Facts.
I'm trying to rob her. Sorry.
Yeah.
And in my head, as a black boy, I've seen that, and growing up into being a black man.
Yeah.
So when I heard that, and it's like, it's not about black men not giving out love, and like, it's just that the fact that when we're trying to receive that love back, imagine if that person was just like, oh, thank you so much. Like, I really needed that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But instead, you've just basically taken your purse and taken this. No, I don't need no help. It's fine. It's no problem whatsoever. You've taken love away from me that I could have potentially needed. That I could have said, you know what, I felt good about today.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And actually, you've left me now feeling
And now
worse.
you've made me feel worse.
I feel rejected. Yeah. No.
That play, by the way, shout out 10 out of 10. I hope they bring it back. I'll go.
it ran. The run finished.
it's
Didn't it?
finished?
Yeah, the run finished, man.
Yeah, I hope they bring it back again.
The run finished, man.
I mean, we could talk for ages. I feel like.
Can I ask you guys a question
Of
before?
course.
Just straight away, name the first 3 people that you love the most. Quick.
My daughter, myself. Oh, that's hard.
It's hard.
Yourself?
I can't.
I'm glad that you said it. Do you know how many times I do this and people don't say themselves? Do you know how many times people go to everybody else
Not you.
and not you?
Yeah.
And the reason why I do this all the time is because in order to love people, you have to love yourself.
Absolutely. You cannot pour from an empty
You
cup.
can't. And I think we hear this and we see it because celebrities say this, and we see love yourself and love this and love that. Are you really preaching that? Are you doing certain things where you're saying to yourself, do you know what? I'm going to have to cut off that boundary. I'm going to have to put that boundary in place. I'm going to have to cut off that. Do you know what I mean? I can't go here. I'm going to have to learn to say no. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's protecting your own peace and your own mental well-being, because there is a lot of stuff that we do based on the fact that we're doing it for other people. But really and truly, that doesn't help with our mental health and our well-being.
It doesn't.
It doesn't
It
at all.
doesn't.
Just little routines of changing. Like, you wake up in the morning, right? For some people, they look at their phones, check their emails, check who the missed calls, check their texts, check social media. You have basically downloaded everybody's information straight away before you've even got up and thought about yourself.
And your brain is in a very kind of receptive state
100%.
when you first wake up. And this is why it's very important to adopt things like, whether it's a bit of meditation, whether it's prayer, or just not engaging in your phone at all before you kind of start your day, because of how it can actually impact you for the rest,
of the day.
Essentially.
The whole mood.
So, but yeah, no, I think because I've had a long journey in terms of, you know, self and my, you know, well-being and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm very much a person, I practice what I preach, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, like oftentimes I will literally ask myself at the end of the day, how have you loved yourself today?
That's dope.
Yeah. Or I might say things to, you know, I'll do silly things like, there might be a love song, let's say Beauty by Drew Hill.
Big tune.
I'll sing that, I will reword it to sing it to myself, just to reinforce. Those are the things that I will do just to make sure that I keep my cup full. And it's implementing those little things that work. I'm not saying do that, guys.
Get your own song.
Yeah. Get your own song.
You know, but yeah, those are the kind of things that I do. But yeah, it's been really good having you
Thank
on.
you for having
And
me.
can you tell everyone where they can find you, follow you?
Yep, Instagram at Saving Souls Hub, or www.savingsouls.org.uk.
Okay. And if they want to contact you kind of directly?
Yep. What is my Instagram handle? At Kerry Phillips Kerry _ Phillips 86.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
I'll pop that on. I'll pop that on.
Can I give a Kerry's final thoughts?
Okay, go on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shout out Jerry Springer, RIP. But I want to give a Kerry's final thoughts. Whoever wants to do something in life, whoever wants to be something or wants to start something, just start it. Just do it. Don't allow anybody or anything to stop you. And the reason why I say this is because, and this is not a sob story, this is just me pouring. My sister died last year. And when my sister died, I didn't know the community that I made with all the people around it was going to be the community that supported me through that period. That was the brothers that I was with constantly, weekly. They don't know how much they helped me. Do you know what I mean? You've got your family, and don't get it twisted, you've got your family that support you and everything like that. But being with them, they supported me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's because of the fact that I started something, built a community, and now all of a sudden I have this to support me. God doesn't sleep. Do you know what I mean? And I think from this, I always get that story out because I want people to realize that you don't know what's going to happen in a couple of years' time of what you're building, who is going to support you, who is going to look after. Do you know what I mean? And when I look at it now, like my sister Sherelle, she came to the self-defense class, and like I look at that and I think, bro, like we're still trying to live on my sister's name. Do you know what I mean? In terms of what we're doing. So what I will say is that everybody, whatever you're going to do in life, don't let anybody distract you. Do what you need to do, and make sure you do it for your own mental health and your own well-being. And that's Kerry's final thoughts.
Love that.
I'm gonna give myself a round of applause.
Yes, clap yes. Clap yes. Of course.
This has been a fantastic episode. Very nourishing.
Impromptu, you see? Not planned.
Not planned
Beautiful.
at all.
Beautiful thing.
at
Kismet.
all. Yes.
Love that.
I
Yeah,
love
Kismet,
honestly,
man.
Kerry, thank you so much
Thank you.
Love that for
Thank
sure.
you.
Proper.
for joining us.
Thank you.
Definitely have you back on again if you'd be up for it.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, you guys, the vibe that you guys have, listen, 100%, man, 100%. Like, shout out Kieron, shout out Dionne. Listen, this is where you need to be. Listen, get in contact and do what you need to do. Watch, subscribe, like, whatever you need to do. Get in contact and make sure that you're tuned in, because this here, as you said, was impromptu. So for me to be here, I'm like, yeah, how do I get involved consistently?
Love that.
Love that. Okay, guys, if you've been affected by anything we've spoken about today, you can head over to the Lovely Bear website, www.lovelybear.com/resources. We've got a list of support services, whether in the UK, USA, Canada. We've got a variety of things on there. I might actually add you to our resources page.
Oh, that would be dope. Wicked.
We'll get that. We'll get that done as well. So, on the note of Jerry Springer, take care of yourselves
And each other.
and each other.
Each other. Jerry.
So it's bye from me.
And me.
All right, and it's a wrap. Thank you.
Nice one. That's proper.
That was so
Yeah, man.